are live. It is the second day of June 2011 on this live Thursday edition. We're going to be here for the next 3 hours. We have Catherine Austin Fitts, a big banking finance insider, joining us for the second half of the next hour to break down the big stock market plunge yesterday and the sudden announcements that, oh my gosh, the economy is going over the edge of a cliff. The economy went over the edge of a cliff more than 3 years ago, and the system knows that. Wall Street saying, oh my gosh, things are terrible. Oh, they're not terrible for Wall Street. They're not terrible for the big mega banks, the private Federal Reserve shareholders. They have engineered this system on record. We're going to be breaking that down today. Haven't had him on probably 4 or 5 months. The time flies, but Alan Watt, great researcher of Cutting Through the Matrix, is going to be joining us to talk about the current position of the globalist program of establishing and expanding their world government program and what their end game is. He'll be joining us today. Now, there is an article that I read this morning that really spurred my thought processes, studying the Federal Reserve over the years and studying their policies worldwide. This is just the regional holding company for a collection of private banking families. You could say 4 horsemen, you could say 5 horsemen. There's really, from my research, 5 mega banks operating in Europe and the United States. But excellent article by Dean Henderson at Infowars.com and globalresearch.ca. The Federal Reserve Cartel, the 8 families. And this is part 1 of a 4-part series and mentions the 8 families. And I agree this is accurate research. But in this first part, it gets into detail on 2 of the families. It's an 8-page article. I'm going to try to go over some of this because the mere fact that they try to keep it secret who owns the Federal Reserve, I mean, congressmen have to release their financials, presidents do, but the IRS, the CIA, nobody can look into the Federal Reserve. And we've got the clips we played of Alan Greenspan saying that the Federal Reserve is above the law. Remember that clip? In fact, we'll probably dig that out and play that later on Lair NewsHour, where he said, well, no one can look at us, no branch of government. We are above government. Think about the magnitude of this hoax, how ridiculous it is. And then you see the policies of these groups and of these organizations and the type of programs that they're launching against humanity. It's not that we just have these shadowy rulers who control the issuance of currency and credit and dominate and sit on the boards of almost every Fortune 500 company because they have unlimited wealth. They've bought everything up. It's the fact that it gives them then the power to have a total continuity of agenda worldwide. And so the world we see being built is being built by these individuals from behind the scenes, and they're charting our destiny, and that's wrong. I also have some reports here dealing with the curious thing that's been noticed with some of these genetically modified corn crops and others, that it basically has engineered into it a anti-fertility component that causes an autoimmune response. And there's some more news on that today that we're going to be breaking down. But when you come face to face with a group this diabolical, creating total war against humanity, this total corporate, full spectrum dominance, re-engineering of the human society and the human itself to ensure their total victory over humanity, it's incredible. Because these banking money changers have been overthrown countless times in history, in the last 5,000 years, in every culture, from China to the Middle East to Europe. So they, in the last 150 years, they sought to create a scientific dictatorship in their own words. Stay with us. Let me do this. I want to get into all these deaths in Europe from the cucumbers, because now it's being linked to mutated E-Coli. Well, I wanted to talk about some of the mutations that are being purposefully engineered with E-Coli, just to give you an example of why we're seeing so many flesh-eating bacteria so many other rogue strains of bacteria that have been directly linked to the modern medical big pharma industrial complex. So we've got that. We've got, obviously, the economy now, they admit, going into free fall. Well, it's always been in free fall in the last 3+ years, and it's by design, engineered by the big mega banks who are all making record bonuses and record profits and who write the laws through the lobbyists, exempting themselves, in most cases, from 100% of taxes. If you're more of a porch globalist, just getting into the power structure like Bill Gates or Google, you might pay a 2.5, a 2.8. Google pays, what, a 2.4. So we're going to be going over all of that today. And I saw an article at Infowars.com from Global Research, the Federal Reserve Cartel, the 8 families. And I read the article, and it's extremely accurate. And the truth is, we know who the 8 families are. We know who the 5 megabanks are. And there's actually Carol Quigley, one of their insiders, head of political science, Georgetown, wrote an 1,100-page book bragging about it. We know from the banker bailouts, which are just the grand larceny in front of everybody, to the private cartels. We know exactly who they are, and we know who was at Jekyll Island now 100 years ago in the 2 years leading up to the establishment of the private Federal Reserve, and that same year the private IRS, that is, it's a government operation, but they take your money and deposit it with the Federal Reserve, and 100% of it, as Ronald Reagan's commission in 1981 conclusively found, does go to pay interest on the debt to the bankers who created out of nothing. So they get the world out of nothing. And that's why in the different SEC filings, you'll find that the 8 big families own the controlling interest in all of the major Fortune 500 and sit on every board because they have unlimited capital. This is the total takeover of our society. And I'm going to be breaking it down in detail at the bottom of the hour. Also, people have been asking me in the last 2 days, why haven't I covered Weiner, who's gone after gold and silver, who's tried to demonize anybody that talks about the New World Order. And Weiner reportedly has been sent this photo out with his namesake photographed there. Weiner sent out a photo, of his last name. And this is standard procedure. First, he said that somebody must have hacked into his phone and sent a fake photo, and that it wasn't him. And now he's saying, well, it may be a photo of Mr. Weiner's, last name. Mr. Weiner's, his last name is Weiner, a photo of his last name. It's possible that the lewd photo is of him, he's now saying. So he's done basically a 160. He's not done a 180 from saying, somebody hacked my phone, it's fake, you can make fake photos. Now he's having to go, well, that might actually be a photo of Mr. Weiner's Mr. Weiner. All right, I'm going to stop joking around on that point. But the illustration here is that these guys are out of control. They're absolutely out of control, and I'm not a fan of Mr. Weiner. He's 100% anti-gun, pro-globalist, anti-gold, pro-Federal Reserve, and but at the end of the day, sending out a photo of his proboscis, I'd rather go after him for being anti-gun, being a pro-globalist. But the issue is he's lied here, and the system loves to go after politicians for petty things, because this doesn't deal with the banker bailout he supported. It doesn't deal with all the corrupt wars, of the torture, of the Patriot Act, and the police state, and things that most of Congress is guilty of as well. That's why they went after Bill Clinton for the cigars and the Monica Lewinsky behavior and the sex and then the lying about it. I mean, Ken Starr couldn't go after him for missile secrets and murders and all the corruption, because a lot of Republicans were involved in that as well. So they went after him for a sexual escapade. And it's the same thing with Weiner. But I will not cry myself to sleep at night that Congressman Weiner is going down in flames for the lying. He should have said it was a private photo. and was not meant to be sent out. And I apologize. That would have been the end of it. He might have even survived it. But the lying, the instinct to lie, and now he's backtracking, again, 160 degrees. He's almost to 180, going, okay, it might be a photo of my private parts, Mr. Weiner said. I'm sorry. I just hate Weiner. I mean, I really don't like Weiner. I don't like gun-grabbing, pro-New World Order parasites. But Weiner's wife is staying mum on the whole Weiner controversy. And there's a photo of Mr. Weiner with Mrs. Weiner. And, of course, we could talk to her and find out, is that a photo of Mr. Weiner's, well, you know what. All right, I'm done. That's it. Now, getting into more serious issues on the lighter note here at the beginning of the broadcast, as I get into a smattering of some of the other news, let's get into what's really serious. These globalists think they're God. These UN people are above the law. They have diplomatic immunity. The IMF and World Bank have diplomatic immunity. Though that's not being extended, that's been revoked for Dominique Strauss-Kahn. So I believe he did behave like a rutting chimpanzee, as one reporter described him in a closed-door session in 2002, going wild and trying to rip her clothes off. But then when she said no, he backed off. It's more of a aggressive Pepe Le Pew type behavior, and I think it's wrong. But when you get into the Times of London, 1999 had articles about women that escaped from a Rothschild-owned castle. And she ran to the state police. She weighed 85 pounds, it reported, if memory serves. It was in the Burgundy region, where they grow those great Burgundy grapes. And when they went to the castle, there were women, it looked like concentration camp victims, in cages and some dead bodies. And the story was never seen again. You can pull it up. And then I've got congressional hearings where the congresswoman says to Rumsfeld in 2005 and then again in 2006 in those hearings, you just search the term, Cynthia McKinney grills Rumsfeld. And she says, DynCorp was running the child kidnapping rings and they didn't get in trouble. And he says, well, they were put in a penalty box for a year and couldn't get contracts. And she said, no, they weren't. And he goes, Dr. Chu, head of the Pentagon Finance at the time, will you talk about that? And they just said, we have no comment for you, and they don't get in trouble. The point is, if you're a new listener and you're like, oh, yeah, DynCorp, Halliburton, running giant child kidnapping rings, sure. Folks, do you think I just day after day say this on air and I'm not sued into oblivion? Don't be lazy. Just go search it, pull it up. We've written articles linked to the Chicago Tribune, Houston Chronicle, BBC. They are allowed to grab children out of backyards, put them on planes, and fly them to Saudi Arabia, Israel, Thailand. They grab men en masse out of Central Europe, Eastern Europe, the Middle East. They take them and put them on deserted islands with brick factories. That's in the articles. I mean, actual slaves. That's why Halliburton moved to Dubai. That's who these people are. You better grow up. Okay, so while we're talking about the Weiner escapade, we've got this situation. This is the Daily Mail. French open investigation into former minister who had orgy with little boys in Morocco. And it came out all over Europe. We've covered these cases here. Happened in the Netherlands, a big case, where the cops were ordered to go investigate. They could hear the little kids, little girls begging for help in the dungeon, and didn't help them. And then nationwide, over 1 million people marched, and the government finally sent the guy to prison, and then he tried to call the judges and police that were involved, and it turned out they were, but the whole thing was shut down. And, I mean, they were killing the little kids. And folks, you better grow up. I mean, we're dealing with hardcore psychos that have created a world government system to carry this out at their leisure. Continuing, French prosecutor's office today opened an investigation after a former government minister alleged that another ex-minister participated in an orgy with young boys in Morocco. The former education minister, Luc Ferry, will likely be questioned after claiming during a television show that the man was caught in an orgy. A judicial official said the preliminary investigation is aimed at seeking more precise information from Ferry, the official said. And it goes on, this is one of the best buddies of Dominique Strauss-Kahn. So see, his dalliances are just running like a wild chimpanzee. In France, a preliminary investigation is conducted to see if the case should be pursued. Ferry, who was an education minister in 02 to 04, did not name the minister in the government, which that minister has served, but said during a television show Monday that he heard about the case from a prime minister. He did not specify which one. And so you ask, why are so many of them reportedly into this and have been caught being into this? Because you don't get into the top club. It's like Bohemian Grove. New York Post, Esquire. I mean, jets land, the gay porn stars get off the plane, and they go in and, quote, valet the Christian conservative. That's what's so frustrating for anybody that's studied history and knows how civilizations tend to develop, become very wealthy, then become decadent, then become insanely decadent, and then collapse. It's frustrating for those of us that have just studied history. We're not rocket scientists. We're not brain surgery. This is how humans act over and over again. And the same scams that have been run for thousands of years are being run today, just with a modern twist. And in every case, the Aztecs, the ancient Chinese, the Babylonians, the Israelites, the Romans, the Greeks, every culture goes through these cycles. And in every case, a priest class arises who are the ruling elite through mumbo-jumbo and trickery. And they always demand offerings of your oxen and your pigs and your cows and your sheep. And then that's never enough for them. In every culture, generally within a few hundred years of decadence setting in, they begin to demand human sacrifices. And you ask why? It's the ultimate power trip of the naturally occurring psychopath. The different psychological actuaries estimate maybe one psychopath for every 200 people. Maybe one sociopath for every 20 people. And there's a lot of psychological studies that make a lot of sense from the research I've done that narcissism is increasing, especially with the advent of television, and especially in the United States. And that then leads to people becoming sociopaths. And we've had, of course, Dr. Steve Pachenik on to break that down. He's going to be a board-certified, board-examining psychiatrist, runs some of the biggest mental institutions in the country, wrote psychological warfare manuals for the government. He wants to talk about Wiener and this narcissism tomorrow and a bunch of other issues. He's going to be joining us for about 45 minutes. But to try to boil down narcissism from my layman's perspective, it is when you're 3 years old and you're into your individual personage as if you are an island and you are the whole world. And you see everything through yourself. And I remember being 3 years old and standing on the back porch on a sunny day, about to jump off the porch. I was Batman or Robin or something with my friends. And I suddenly realized this is stupid. This is silly. I'm not Batman. I'm not Robin. I'm not a superhero. I'm this little creature. And there's this whole world around me. And there's this ancient history of humanity. It had to be an ancestral memory because I didn't know this information. It was just self-evident. And I had this great understanding that I was a tiny little part of the larger universe. Now, you see children dressing up like superheroes, dressing up like a cop and then acting like a cop. You see little girls dressing up like princesses. And that's what all these beauty pageants for kids are about. And you see adults acting like this. That's what people are into, the bling and the fashion, the cars and the wealth, not just for the enjoyment and security of it or that a fast car is fun. It's that it's like parrots that are brightly colored in a mating dance for other parrots. And so it's natural. It's part of our human development. But generally, in the hierarchy of needs, as you become older and attain success, you generally, if you're healthy, start caring about the overall health of the tribe and want to build others up because you then realize you're transient, you're not going to be here very long. But see, that's what a healthy person does. We are taking on the global social engineers, sociopathy, their psychotic tendencies to the extreme, the sadomasochism, the torture's good, the blood, the guts, the murder, the giggling and laughing at horrible tragedies, not in an uncomfortable way, but in an enjoyment. And the weaker and more domesticated and feat people get in every case in history, the more they get into blood and guts and torture and murder, the more it becomes a sport that people are being torn apart in the arena or people are being tasered on the news. The more people get into groveling to authority. We're following that exact same psychology. And now because of the advent of television and mass drugging and pharmakeia and the programming of society, a great cauldron of poison has been fomented that has never before been seen. And I talk to adults, and you'll see them, and you'll talk to them. They're in a play with themselves. They're imagining a role they're in. And I have flashbacks to being 3 years old. And then after that, 4, 5, 6, 7, I would catch myself every once in a while in a delusional mindset and would instantly pull out of it. And I didn't realize that's very rare. Most people don't develop that till their 30s or 40s. I had it at age 3. And it's an outside spectrum analysis in the universe, gobbling up data versus the delusion, the dress-up, the play, the imagination, where form over function, or what I'm getting at here is that we are under psychological warfare attack. That's why the motto for Infowars.com is because there's a war on for your mind. Infowars.com, because there's a war on for your mind. And what I'm getting at here is adults, real people that are street smart, that are close to the ground, that live in reality. If you go back to our pioneer ancestors, or anybody that's had to, live in the wilds or live in a rough city, those are people that are always hard to con and who aren't delusional and who are serious and rugged and are into reality. Every time you get modern, decadent cities with propaganda from a corrupt elite, the public becomes delusional and things get more and more nonsensical, more and more crazy, and people accept more and more. And as it gets down to a breaking point or a flash point, things get completely off the wall, Twilight Zone crazy. I mean, who would ever imagine that Americans would let police under federal grants warrantlessly in every state in the union take blood at checkpoints without warrants? Who would ever imagine that government wouldn't get in trouble for now a 39-year secret plan, declassified in the last 3 years, to take all babies' blood at birth, lie to the parents and say it's a blood test for the health department, and send it to the Pentagon and the IBM Cold Springs Harbor eugenics lab in New York? Who would imagine old-time Americans putting up with politicians lying to them? If politicians got caught lying even 100 years ago, they were immediately impeached. They were immediately overthrown. People would physically take over their state houses. It was routine because folks knew how dangerous that was. They knew that if you let government set a precedent to lie to you and to abuse you, tyrants are going to take over and that our way of life is over. And America's never been perfect, but it's because we were wily, we were gritty, we did live in reality, that the most patents, the most science, the most wealth. I mean, if you look at the United States compared to many countries, resource-wise, we don't have that many resources. Mexico, the World Bank estimates, has triple the resources the U.S. does, but they can't get themselves going because they have such corruption at the top, which seeks to shut down upward mobility as a tool of control. So we have adults that are delusional. They think, well, if I decide WMDs are in Iraq, they magically are. If I decide that cell phones aren't going to give me brain cancer, they don't. If I decide that vaccines aren't going to hurt my kid and that you guys are conspiracy theorists, despite all your research and facts, magically it makes it okay. It's called magical thinking. And that's always a sign of a society imploding. You take the Indians in the West. Whenever they were dying, they were almost wiped out. The invading Europeans were slaughtering them. And they were doing ghost dances for a decade. They would just do ghost dances and, believe that magically that it would make the bad dream end and bring everything back. And that's the secret. That I know all these people that believe in the secret and magical thinking. It isn't real, ladies and gentlemen. Now, it is real to be objective and positive and to believe in yourself and to believe in building programs to get our liberty back. Or to have to trust in God but tie up your camel, as the Bedouins say. That is one thing. That's positive thinking and positive research versus magical thinking. And they're using magical thinking on you, telling you, hey, the economy, 2.5 years ago, the recession ended. Oh, yeah, everything's great. The economy's wonderful. Meanwhile, crime is exploding, rioting, shootings, city systems breaking down, major cities laying off, in some cases more than half their cops, taxes going up because the majority of the money's now going to the foreign banks on interest. We are becoming a third world country. And there are a lot of people that just think if they deny it, if they do a ghost dance, that somehow that is going to restore the republic. I get emails, see comments, articles written all the time. Alex Jones, Ron Paul, and his ilk, they're being negative about the economy. They're going to cause the depression. No. And we haven't got new numbers in over a year. In the first 2 years after October 3rd, 2008, even Bloomberg reported 27 trillion. And boy, they clamped down since then. We've not gotten numbers. 27, let me say it again, 27 trillion. That's more than all the private debts you have in the country, the corporate debts, the government debts. More than all the debts we supposedly owe. $27 trillion. Just type in 23.7 trillion. You'll get Bloomberg AP from 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago. And then about a month later, they said, oh, and there was an additional 5 trillion. So it's technically over 27 trillion. 27 trillion. And we've broken down the numbers with economists. Greater than all our debt. But here's the deal. It isn't a fraction of the 1.5 quadrillion. That's 1,500 trill. Now, let's say Dr. Paul Crick Roberts, Webster Tarpley, Bob Chapman, they're wrong that it's over 1,000 trillion. Let's go with the Washington Post a year ago saying it was 674 trillion. And by the way, the guys just pulled up the 23.7 trillion Bloomberg headline. So when I tell you it was... did they say 64, 65, 67? Let me think. Exact memory. Hold on. What did Washington Post say? They said it was 667 trillion. Guys, search this. Washington Post. Let's just test my memory here. Washington Post, derivatives, U.S. derivatives debt, over 600 trillion. The point is, they say it's over 600 trillion. So let's just say it's 600 trillion. 600 trillion these banking families created. Let's say it's not 1.5 quadrillion and growing, which is more than that. But let's just say 600 plus trillion. The bankers get 27 trillion of our tax money. We give them the money, backed up by our taxes, our labor, our work. We are what underwrites all this as chattel slaves on record. The Federal Reserve is a debt note. That's why your dollar says a Federal Reserve note of debt. For $1 to be created, $1 of debt is created for 8 private families. 8 private families on record. The Rockefellers, the Rothschilds. I'm going to go over some of the names. The Queen of the Netherlands. The Queen of England. This is a woman who suspends parliaments routinely. Owns more than half of Canada. Owns the controlling stock in British Petroleum and a near controlling stock, because her cousin has a controlling stock in Dutch Royal Shell. These people's wealth is so giant, it's secret. And by the way, it's a state secret. You can type into the search engine, Dutch royal family's wealth, state secret. Well, it's not a state secret that they own most of the shipping lines. He found it. Incredible job. Here's Washington Post. Politics hampers effort to reform the $450 trillion in derivatives market. Yeah, you guys found one from April 14, 2010. It says $450 trillion in derivatives. I know there's another Washington Post from a little bit later, but that says 600 plus trill, and I wanted to get that exact number, but great job finding that. So they say 450 trillion. The report I had was just American derivatives, U.S. derivatives, 600 plus trill. But why debate it? The point is that our entire national debt, corporate debt, private debt, is less than 27 trill. Now, we give the bankers 27 trill, and they don't fix the thousands of trillions they've created in derivatives that they've sold into the markets and infested our pension funds, contaminated the entire economic system. And now their answer is worldwide. It's the same thing in Ireland, Greece, Portugal, Greenland. I mean, it comes out in the BBC. I read this article over and over again on air, where the head of the Irish Central Bank said, yes, it's true that 90+% of this debt is not owned by Ireland, but for the stability of things, we are going to raise taxes and pay it to these foreign banks. And the head of the central bank actually said, it's good for Ireland to be run by foreign banks. That's a quote. Head of Irish Central Bank says it's good for foreign banks to own and run Ireland. You see, that's psychological warfare. And I've read criminology reports on really good criminals. If they get caught walking out of your house with the jewelry in their hands, they'll act completely normal and say, oh, hey, there was a fire. I'm here to help you. Go on in there and check. Hey, how you doing? They'll act normal. Or if they're loading stuff in the back of a van, your neighbor comes over. Oh, yeah, we're Ace Moving, and we're here to help. Same thing. Oh, yeah, we don't owe this money, but it's good to have foreign banks run us. And just say it straight out. Yeah, we're going to stick our hands down your pants. It's great. Yeah, we're going to actually go into the panties of Miss America in Dallas until she breaks down and cries. I mean, they went in her pants, in the panties. Remember just 8-9 months ago, they would deny that was going on. We forced it out in the open with Drudge. Drudge picking up our articles and videos, and they went, yeah, we are going in the pants. They found it. There it is. You guys found it. The larger fight over how best to regulate the 600 trillion derivatives market remains unresolved. Washington Post. Now, there you go. Yeah, there it is. Senate votes to keep small banks under Federal Reserve oversight. Oh, yes, the small banks that they're busy consolidating. Did you know that every Fortune 500 company that is publicly traded on record has either the chairman of the board or members of the controlling board, not the CEOs they distract us with all day, that are part of these 8 families? 8 families on record control the issuance of currency and credit worldwide out of nothing. And you're like, well, let them rule us. You know, they're great folks. Oh, really? Did you know that when I read these 8 families, in every case, these families openly funded eugenics, scientific dictatorship, the modern theories of psychology, anthropology, sociology, biometrics is 154 years old by Sir Francis Galton as a way to control the public. Oh, you think biometrics is 50 years old? No. Look up biometrics. These people created our entire modern scientific system to defend their ill-gotten gains and to learn how the human brain works and to take all the knowledge of the collective dictators and deceivers and systems of control and to publicly write blueprints and internal books like Carroll Quigley's 1968 Tragedy and Hope, breaking down how they scientifically do it. Now, when I see an article out of the Examiner, this is what's so frustrating, or an article out of the Salem News, or an article out of Oil Geopolitics, when I read these articles, it's pure torture. And you know why it's pure torture? Because everything they say in these articles that I read last night, that we're going to post up at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com for posterity, and so that more will see them, everything in here is true for my research and about 1,000 times worse. And I'm not saying 1,000 times worse as a joke. I mean that. Oh, they got Bill Gates saying they're going to engineer the crops to sterilize you, and they've got direct links to him saying it on video. Oh, they've got the top bioscientists, engineers coming out admitting that all these major GMO, corn, soybeans, you name it, in every case, they've gone in and tweaked in the genetics where it causes reduction in fertility. Well, no kidding. I've had the top bioscientist on. We've interviewed him. I got a film coming out breaking it down where in Russia, in England, everywhere, these scientists will be, well, we're feeding this to guinea pigs, these potatoes, this wheat, this corn, and within 3 generations, they're 100% sterile. They've got hair growing in their mouth. Their genitals are shriveled. They've got mutations in their intestines. Post-birth, that's not supposed to happen. What's going on? And they say, don't worry. Publicly, it's so this wheat lasts longer and is bigger and has more protein, but there's other things in here. We got too many people. And then I read these reports. See, the public's finally starting to get this, and I'm seeing it now. Everybody's starting to talk about it. It is such a blessing. It is so fulfilling because no one has been more on the front lines for 16 years, covering eugenics, forced population reduction, the globalist real plan. This whole world government is not so the globalists can ride around in helicopters and jets and rule everybody. This is their planet in their eyes. They're psychopaths. They couldn't do what they've done unless they were. They enjoy murder and death, and they openly say in every report that when they get their full government in place, they are going to just fly over with drone helicopters and nerve gas every one of us. And that's going to, oh, by the way, that came out, leaked Marine Corps document 12 years ago, and then the Marine Corps threatened the local Sunshine Project in Texas and had them remove it. It's still on the Google archive, though. And we wrote articles about it at the time. That they've got, but see, they won't do that first. They'll have controlled bioplagues, lockdown cities, total control. They'll say, oh, we've got vaccines to protect you from it that'll further weaken you. And I want you to listen to me because if we don't beat them up to that point, when all this unfolds, and no doubt by that time, I won't be above ground. They're not going to allow that to happen. You need to know it was real later. When they're broadcasting on their emergency alert systems, you know, listen to them, do what they say, they're going to take care of you. Cops, when your wife's dropping dead and your kids are vomiting their last guts up and you're starting to get ready to roll out and die, I want you to at least repent to God that you serve Satan openly in the mass extermination program. And before you hit the ground, okay, before you hit the ground, I want you to remember I told you the entire plan. All right? Because it's your soul that matters. And some of you will be able to dig in, and they're going to send the drones in after you after that happens. They admit the Pentagon in 1977 put out the Skynet documents that they then incorporated into fiction in movies like Terminator. See, they don't need troops anymore. Very soon, everything's going robotic. And everything's going to be the drones and the sword robots. The public robots they've got are vicious with microwave guns, grenade launchers, machine guns. They've got smaller robots that shoot nerve gas darts at you that they drop out of drones and then kill everybody in the town. I mean, and they're taking your tax money and just building gigantic secret site. It's 2011, boys and girls. Okay? You understand? This is mega evil. I just can't even believe the magnitude of it. And how do you get a public that can't even get upset about the Federal Reserve being private and being above the law and openly saying the government isn't even allowed to investigate anything they're doing? They're openly admitting world government, just as we told you they would, as the solution to the economic crisis they've engineered. And I still have yuppies and people at the Capitol when I was down there last week walk over and laugh at me as the conspiracy theorist. I'm not the conspiracy theorist. I've read all their documents that are public. I know about their program. I know about the 150-year plan. I understand this is a total global corporate dominance. What did the Romans do when they wanted to wipe out a group? They'd kill everybody. That's how you fully dominate a group. What did the Israelites do? What does every culture do? What did the Americans do to the Indians? They're going to wipe us all out, so the world's theirs. You got that? It's coming. Ian Fleming was the OSS, the MI6 spy chief in British intelligence. And he wrote the James Bond novels, the ones currently up into the 70s and early 80s. He wrote Moonraker under a different name, where a global master industrialist teams up with other industrialists to release a bioweapon to kill the entire Earth's population so they can create a eugenics Valhalla of the perfect race. But it's the liberal version, the perfect black folks, the perfect Asians, perfect whites, perfect Hispanics. And they go off-world to this base they've built, this space station, for the 1-year period while the bioweapon kills everybody. But James Bond, Roger Moore, goes up and kills him. Well, Fleming wrote essays and articles saying everything I put in my books is based on real things that have been discussed. That's why the new James Bond movies, Fleming's been dead for a long time, are, you know, in South America where they dam up the water, the multinational corporation, to triple the prices and bankrupt the economy to consolidate it. Well, that's BBC 2002, IMF World Bank documents that got released. That's a real story. They've got another one where it's genetic engineering that came out a few years ago with this life extension DNA stuff. What do you think the elite that created thousands of trillions in wealth, owns everything through fraud? I mean, as yuppies, I know you don't like going to the water park and it being crowded. Because I hear yuppies, oh, there's too many people. The world is overcrowded. You know, I love how you're taught that, whether it is or isn't. Anybody who makes, I'd say, above $50,000 a year thinks they're part of the elite. And liberal, conservative, they'll all tell you, there are too many people, Alex. What are we going to do? It is hurting the earth. And the globalists say, see, you're right. Don't you get it, you idiot? They're adulterating your food with GMO designed to destroy your fertility on record. Bill Gates thinks you're so dumb, he puts out videos about it and talks about innovating to zero in this speech. And releasing mosquitoes that have vaccines in them so you can't escape it. And vaccines engineered into crops that sterilize you. Well, the truth is we have the studies of the stuff already approved the last 25 years. Every major crop reduces fertility in the first generation. By generation 3 in rodents, 100% sterilization. And I've had all the experts on. We're under attack. Listen, let's say the Earth's overpopulated for the sake of argument. I don't like the fact that I'm being sterilized. I don't like the fact that I'm under attack. I don't think it's cute. I don't think it's funny. So even if you think you're a member of the elite, do you like them putting sodium fluoride in your water? That 7-fold increase in bone cancer, major IQ reduction, all sorts of problems, osteoporosis, early onset of diabetes. I mean, the list is legion. All of you idiots that have been taught by this New World Order system this stuff, and people ask, well, how does it work? I've got the numbers right here, and I'm trying to cover it next hour. I said I'd take calls, but this information is too important, and I'm obviously on a roll here with this information. Of the Fortune 500, every company that is publicly traded has members or the designates of the 8 mega families, Federal Reserve Cartel, the 8 families, that's the headline, Infowars.com. And I've read this article, 8 pages, very accurate. When I read an article, it's very accurate. It just blows me away that folks have got this knowledge. Very exciting. And they control the Fortune 500. So, of course, there's a unified agenda for biometrics. Of course, there's a unified agenda to sterilize you through the food. Of course, there's a unified agenda. They control all the money and credit through fraud, and they're ruthless globalists that want the planet for themselves and want the life extension technologies they've already discovered for themselves. Number 2 of emergency transmission beacon InfoWars. Transmitting worldwide emergency warnings to free humanity. Scientific dictatorship now entering new phase. Global consolidation implosion to domesticate public for controlled extermination. Emergency. Big Pharma is a weaponized arm of this slaughter grid. Globalists are waging war against free humanity in a concerted operation. I got 2 guests coming up, and I've got all this news I want to cover. And I also want to take your phone calls so bad. I'm going to ask callers to call in right now and to... People say they love the show. We usually just have open phones. We don't screen your calls. But occasionally, I ask for you to call in on the subject I mentioned. What do you think about my breakdown of the 8 Federal Reserve families broken down in this article, the Federal Reserve Cartel, the 8 families at Infowars.com? What do you think about the fact that, or do you disagree that so much of what we've broken down, we've told you the globalist vision, what they want from their own words, what they're building. You see they're making good on their promises. Are you as desperate as I am to try to warn people to break them out of their trance? Are you concerned about all this news dealing with GMO crops engineered as biological weapons against you and your family? The UN caught spiking vaccines with hormones to cause autoimmune sterilization response? Or is the horror too big for you? Are you just going to deliver your children to them and eat the GMO and let the TSA violate your body and just submit to all this tyranny? Is reality too incredible for the general public to handle? Are we resigned to our fate? Are the Rothschilds and Rockefellers and the Saxe-Coburg-Goethas, are they right about us? Do we deserve it? Because they say openly, and they write, that if they can get away with this against us, that we're steak on the table. That's a quote by Albert Pike. That we're animals if this program's going on and we let them do it to us. Well, I know this. I'm not a dumb animal. I'm a free, sentient being that recognizes honor and beauty and what's decent and good versus what is rancid and putrid and disgusting. And the globalists, I believe, do not deserve and should not be the heirs of human destiny and control where humanity goes into the future. Because even if they wipe 99% of the public out, their public documents are 80%, more and more of their white papers talk about total human exterminism. Humans as a parasite. If we let a group of people that see the rest of us as scum and parasites on the earth, and these are ruthless, unloving, heartless control freaks, are we going to give humanity over to them, and then would they stop killing once they'd wiped out? No. There could be 1,000 globalists left. They'd be in power struggles with each other, killing each other. There could be 2 globalists left. 2 cybernetic, cyborg, future organisms, as they describe themselves. Whether that's going to happen or not, that's what they believe. They believe eternal gods. They're on the verge of becoming, and the uninitiated will not be able to go forward. They teach special forces at Fort Benning this. They made a movie about it, making it into a hippie joke, men who stare at goats. But on record, they taught them in the Earth First Battalion, you are the pale horse death that rides to exterminate the parasite that is humanity. I have the Army manuals. I've made films on it. They're public. They teach them you are warrior priests to slaughter humanity. Revel in your beauty, in your honor. Well, I don't think that's honorable. And I'm here telling you, I'm trying as best I can to alert the population and to mount an awakening, a breaking of the trance, and mounting a resistance to you. All the struggles of our ancestors, all the pain they went through fighting evil, we must come. I got into this article some. It's 8 pages long. I can't read the whole thing. By Dean Henderson at Infowars.com, appearing at globalresearch.ca. The Federal Reserve Cartel. And by the way, this is in the top tiles of Infowars.com. I want to make this a featured story as well. They're in the featured news area. The Federal Reserve Cartel, the 8 families, the 4 horsemen of banking, Bank of America, JP Morgan Chase, Citigroup, and Wells Fargo, own the 4 horsemen of oil. And they go through all the SEC filings. ExxonMobil, Royal Dutch Shell, BP Amoco, and Chevron Texaco. That's how they could get the oil companies to accept carbon taxes. In tandem with Deutsche Bank, BNP, Barclays, and other European old money behemoths. But their monopoly over the global economy does not end at the edge of the oil patch. And the article goes through with all incredibly footnoted with how they control and have the chairmanships or on the boards of the entire publicly traded Fortune 500. And it's got the families who are involved in the whole situation. Very important article up at Infowars.com. Meanwhile, we have sickening trailer. I don't have time to play, but HBO film, Too Big to Fail, critics trailer, HBO, and it worships. In fact, even the AP said that it makes Henry Paulson to be a hero and the big banks as great people. I mean, and every comment I saw on YouTube was calling them scum, saying we're awake to you, stop lying, you're deceiving all these people. In the Fed, don't get fooled again. And it just literally no one is buying them. Oh, what a joke. What an absolute joke. I mean, it just 4 or 5 years ago, very few Americans knew the Federal Reserve was private. now in polls, upwards of 85% know it's private and want it abolished. And the fact that we've now identified, old-timers back in 1913 fought it and identified it, but the fact that with the general public, we've now identified the true illegitimate shadow government, who, by the way, is financing all the tyranny, the police state to suppress us on record. The fact that they're now identified really begins the end for the New World Order. And they've always known that. That's why they say openly in their white papers, we can't manage 7 billion people on this planet. We've got to get rid of these folks. We've got to highly engineer society and drug the society and control them. And if you want sources on that, it's a free film. It's online. Endgame, Blueprint for Global Enslavement. Whatistheendgame.com is a full bibliography of the film with documents. The UN, Ted Turner, Maurice Strong, hundreds of these people. And then the university white papers, the UN biological diversity assessments. I mean, look at these articles just out today. The good news is when I was covering this 16 years ago, almost no one else was talking about it. This was not even on the radar screen. And if I'm proud of anything, it's that we pioneered in the modern age confronting politicians as guerrilla journalism, drive-by, Limbaugh would call it, asking them real questions and watching them blow up. That is now ubiquitous out there. I'm very proud, and it shows what you can do as well, getting others to emulate what you've done and even add to it and make it better. That we've pioneered the modern info war against the mainstream media, that we've pioneered getting folks to actually look at the globalist-owned documents and the scientific dictatorship. I am very proud of that, and proud of you, the listener, spreading the word, because it's a symbiotic relationship, all of us together. The Examiner says GMO-created foods may be used as biological weapon. And then it goes through the whole Codex Alimentarius and links through to the actual documents, and it links through to the Salem News. Antibodies from women with a rare condition known as immune infertility are used in the creation of GMO food. There has been a concerted national effort by citizens to have the U.S. government label GMOs, opposing it or government intent not only to keep them unlabeled, think about that, in the U.S., but efforts at the international level by the U.S. government to remove all labeling from GMOs through Codex. The problem is that Codex applies to food and GMOs don't qualify. William Engdahl, great researcher, wrote in 2010 about USDA-funded project to create a GM corn that sterilizes people. Now, we've been covering this for a decade. Engdahl picks it up. Now, others pick it. See, it takes time. You're not going to break this stuff out overnight. It takes time. And then it links to Engdahl's article that has all the sources, the links, Bill Gates talking about it on video, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. It's all there. Gates saying we've got to reduce the population, down to almost zero. All these bizarre statements. I mean, the mosquitoes that have vaccines preloaded into them so you can't escape. And here's the Engdahl article. Bill Gates talks about vaccines to reduce population. And then he goes through the USDA-funded project to engineer this antibody into the corn. It's called pharmacological corn. And folks, we're not in 1950 anymore. I get emails going, you can't engineer something into corn. Ladies and gentlemen, they have hundreds of corn crops alone where the corn pieces grow whatever drug they want in them, and they just smash the corn and take the essence out of it. And they've got HIV vaccines. They've got insulin drugs. I mean, just hundreds of things. They're releasing salmon that are part insect and other fish. We're not in Kansas anymore, okay? I'm not, just Google spider goats. Google cow is 20% human. Sheep is 15% human. Pig is 30% human. Chimpanzee is half human. And they put this in the Washington Post. I mean, they've developed all this in these thousands of laboratories. Now, here's the issue. They have thousands of labs randomly splicing. I mean, I remember 15 years ago, BBC, that in Taiwan, for a couple $100, you could buy a glowing rhesus monkey that's part jellyfish, and in the dark, they glow because they have stinging cells. They admitted they're miserable and they're in pain all the time, but rich yuppies in Taiwan just snatch them up. Folks won't believe that. Guys, search monkey part, glow-in-the-dark monkeys part jellyfish. It'll be Wired. It'll be BBC. They reported since 15 years ago about it a lot of times. See, this is what's going on. So they tell you, oh, this potato lasts longer and tastes better. But then, oh, magically, that's just one genetic change. They go in and make another change where in the rat studies and the guinea pig studies, guess what? Reduced fertility, increased cancer, all sorts of other fun goodies, and all these bowel diseases, all these other diseases accelerating, all these autoimmune diseases exploding, deaths exploding, and it's just the background noise is being turned up. I'm going to your calls. This is too important. Now, let me give you just a little example. Oh, there it is. Glowing monkeys inherit jellyfish genes. The genetically engineered primates could lead to better models for studying disease. Oh, that's an article about how great it is. Oh, and look, they glow in the dark. There's photos of it. Isn't that cute? Of course, they really developed, just like a Blade Runner, for sale at shops, genetic engineering shops in Taiwan. Oh, it's actually in Taiwan. I've seen newscasts like Blade Runner. You walk around and, oh, you got a clone of this. You got a clone. Oh, you got this pig's part human. Oh, really awesome. Oh, cool. Oh, you got a spider. Oh, weaponized spider with human genetics. Oh, awesome. I want one of those. But again, we've got to shut down all our industry because carbon dioxide that plants breathe, they respirate from, it's deadly. No, that's a corner on all human activity. Now, let me give you an example. All the top genetic engineers I've interviewed, many of them were making $2-3 million a year, top of their class, and they would find out, hey, this is sterilizing all the guinea pigs. And they'd say, shut up or lose your job. Never mind that trait we added. Well, I can't be part of this. Oh, you can't be part of this. Remember the famous British scientist went public about it. And they get fired and sued and later get vindicated. Now, here's the issue. Just one example. In Latin, it translates into English into bacteria-eating virus. And it was approved 6 years ago. Just type in viruses sprayed on meat in the U.S. They've also approved radiating the food. Large portions are now radiated, including select cutlets. They also have meat glue, which is artificial blood put into the beef, injected into it to beefing it up. Pun intended. Oh, don't believe me, just type in beef glue. That's been going on for decades. It's genetically engineered artificial blood. Is one of the type of beef glues. They've got some others that are made up of other animal blood. And they actually grow the fake steaks. But again, you don't believe me, just enjoy it. Now they spread, these are vaccines. They have giant facilities, huge tanks where they breed, and of course they can breed other things that they want, but most of the time it is an accident. And then all these mega funguses, resistant E-Coli forms, and now resistant E-Coli is in the entire food chain. Oh, don't believe me. 1966, Pentagon was looking at weaponized E-Coli. When Rumsfeld had just gotten over there, later at Searle, he got it approved. It's known as aspartame. And these weaponized bacteria, they feed them forms of toxic waste, then they defecate a toxic but addictive nerve agent, excitotoxin, now admitted in the mainline literature, that is an addictive system that eats holes in your brain and other organs, called aspartame, now in tens of thousands of products. You can't find even sugar gum that doesn't have it added now. I challenge you to. Very hard. Now, that's an example of the genetically engineered E. coli that's now openly in the environment. Oh, you didn't know that's what aspartame is? Oh, don't believe me? Just search aspartame manufacturing process. Now, the reason I raised that is we've got all these deaths with E. coli, and they admit it's a mutant. Now, the scientists I've had on have warned that spraying these live vaccines, live viruses on the meat to eat the bacteria instead of just giving you clean meat would cause mutations. And that's really, the evidence shows what's causing all this. We'll be right back. The Hadron Superconducting Super Collider on the border of Switzerland and France, they admittedly are trying to create antimatter, strangelets, black holes. And they admit they don't know what's going to happen, but it's a low probability that it could create something that would destroy the planet. Well, they have another name for a strangelet, well, it's basically in the same family from the quantum mechanics that I've researched, and that is a quark gluon plasma. And major publications are reporting on this. Here's a headline: Large Hadron Collider creates incredibly dense primordial matter. They're trying to recreate the Big Bang. Now, that's really smart. The Large Hadron Collider, see, with stuff 111 years old that Max Planck envisioned in his mind in Germany, he wrote out the atomic theorems for atomic energy, atomic weapons. And then it was envisioned, well, they've envisioned these, and now they've made one. And if it ever starts grabbing mass, it will fall to the center of the Earth and will do what you've seen in Star Trek. But here's another artist rendering of the latest Star Trek movie, where they send in the heavy particle to the center of the planet. And first it falls. In reality, it takes a few years to start doubling. And then once it starts exponentially growing, once that happens, and we'll show you the Star Trek version as well, then just within a matter of seconds, your entire planet collapses into a black hole. How does that sound? And then it sucks the sun in and gets bigger. And these things are all over the galaxy and are photographed in other galaxies, just thousands of black holes, super black holes. They're all over the place. And let's make one here. 111-year-old technology can destroy the Earth today, but let's just do all this now here today. Again, and I talk about this, and yuppies send me emails giggling about it. Because if you giggle about it, everything's okay. And they call me anti-technology. No, I'm not anti-technology. I'm not anti-shotgun. I don't shoot myself in the foot with it, though. And these scientists are megalomaniacs playing God. I mean, they write about it. Well, this may destroy the Earth, but we're going to do it because we've got to see what happens. Here's another artist rendering of what the beginning of the black hole will look like. And a lot of top physicists have gone on record saying that this is a probability of happening because they're going to do thousands of these tests. And they've now made one of these, but it didn't get enough mass and imploded. So, but here it is. The Large Hadron Collider has created a super dense building block of existence. Scientists operating the Large Hadron Collider have announced the creation of a new instance of quark gluon plasma, the densest form of matter ever observed by humanity. The unique material is 100,000 times hotter than the sun. That's a good idea to make that. And denser than any known object other than a black hole. Very smart. It's because it is a precursor of a black hole. To put this in perspective somewhat, a neutron star is said to be approximately as dense as the entire human population compressed into a sugar cube via. And it goes on. I know, but it gets the point across. Quark gluon plasma is denser than that. The LHC team leader, David Evans, says, if you have a cubic centimeter of this stuff, it would weigh 40 billion tons. That's a very good idea to make that here on the planet. We're basically ghost compared to this, okay? We don't exist compared to this. Its weight is so approaching infinity, okay? It'll go right through the Earth like a dose of salts, but it won't go all the way through out the other end. That wouldn't be that big of a problem because that would reseal. It will go to the highest gravity well point in the middle of the spinning core of the Earth, and then it will suck everything in on it. That's a really good idea. I tell you, the globalists, in their quest to be God, are going to just probably destroy us. Somehow a material such as this can exist in its current quantity without destroying everything we know and love, he goes on to say. It's believed that the universe existed as a quark gluon plasma until it cooled into what we've made of today. The LHC created it by smashing together lead ions at nearly the speed of light. Another fabulous idea. You know, you smash uranium and plutonium together and you blow up cities. Hey, let's speed of light lead into each other. Oh, we made the particle. Let's do it again right now. Sorry I didn't get to your calls, but this is pretty important. Jaron brought it to my attention. And to show you how jaded I am, I saw this a few weeks ago. I think it was in New Scientist. They were like, oh, wonderful. We made the quark gluon plasma. I remember 8 years ago, the San Francisco Chronicle, an Air Force general was giving a speech. He said, yeah, we've successfully made antimatter, but it's classified. Oh, wonderful idea. Absolutely wonderful idea. 30 years ago, they had fission fusion reactors. They'd artificially made mini suns. You know, more than half the scientists in the Manhattan Project thought that when they detonated the first A-bomb, it was going to burn up the entire world's atmosphere. But guess what? They still did it. And then they tried to blow up the Van Allen radiation belt. Remember that? Getting into monkeys that are part jellyfish, spiders that are part goat, part human, chimpanzees that are part human, and medical experimentation. All of this going on. And you tell the general public, they laugh at you because they think of it as some 1950s horror movie. Or they think of it as that movie that came out last year. I didn't see it, but I read about it, Splice. This stuff is going on, and from all the scientists we've interviewed across the board, mainline top scientists, they say when you start splicing species, you give rise to megaviruses, megabacteria, deadly mutations. You create zoological bridges where animal diseases that humans couldn't get can now get. And then you read about Europe E-Coli outbreak caused by toxic new mutation strain. E-Coli outbreak infects 1,600 across Europe as scientists search for cause. Well, I don't know the cause of this, but I know a lot of the new mutant strains that are coming out, just like when they have vaccine tests that end up killing people, it's kept very quiet. Oh, you'll see a few news articles that, oh, wow, they gave 40 homeless people, in one town in Poland, this flu shot, and 30 of them died. Wow. Well, of course, they were testing it. Look at how our troops get tested on. Look at how the black folks in this country were given syphilis. Now we learn ongoing in Latin America with our government telling kids they're getting a vaccine, shooting them up with syphilis, shooting them up with polio. They got caught just last year. And the year before that, and the year before that, the UN. The UN got caught in the 90s all over the world with a whole bunch of different manufacturers showing it wasn't an accident. Adding a female hormone to a tetanus shot that created an autoimmune response to the hormone bound to the tetanus pathogen, which then caused autoimmune response that caused spontaneous abortions at the start of the second trimester when the female releases that particular hormone. And it turns out the UN did it as a soft kill because they don't want to just keep you from having a baby. They want to try to kill the mother. And so having those miscarriages over and over again in those third world conditions is a really great way to kill these women. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, they were caught. Look it up. You've got to come to grips with how evil these people are that are playing God with our society. Okay, let's go ahead and go to some of your phone calls here. Let's talk to Victoria in Montana. Victoria, thanks for holding.
Hello.
Hey, good to have you on with us. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Alex. I just want to thank you for everything that you do every day for humanity. And I wanted to let you know I just renewed my annual Prison Planet TV membership as well. And I feel the same way that you do. The evil ones that call themselves the elite are horrible creatures that are evil incarnate. And what hurts me the most is that the image, that they give of America to the rest of the world to make us look like we're the ones doing this instead, of them being the ones.
Well, that's why they're masters. They wrap all their evil in the American flag while they fund their wars and domination and eugenics with our money, while they destroy America at the same time. Anything that stands, that's sovereign, that's independent, that's self-sufficient is an enemy of the parasites.
That's right. And this hegemony, like you said, is not coming from the American people. And I want the rest of the world to know that we get treated almost the same way because they poison our food, our water, take our money, our air and the neurotoxins and all this through the immunization shots and how they hurt the little kids.
And Victoria, we have Bill Gates. We have all these world leaders on record going back even to the 20s and 30s openly saying we're going to put sterilants in vaccines, we're going to put it in food. They have U.S. government grants and programs to develop the rice, the corn, and then they roll it out, and other GMO varieties have the same effect. They're doing it. They're caught. But people come face to face with something this evil, but it's clean cut, it's wearing a suit, and they just can't believe it. That's why women got in the car with Ted Bundy. He was well-spoken, he was wearing a suit, they got in the car. An hour later, they were chained down in a barn with him torturing the daylights out of them. They just can't believe it's happening. And that's why it's now going to happen again. Look at human history. What do most governments end up doing, Victoria, in their histories? How do governments end? What always happens?
It's true, and like I'm a teacher and everything, and one of the things that I'm into is history, and in an effort to do my part, because I remember, hearing you like a week ago or so calling for other people to step up and do things, and I have different websites, but I decided to do one that was patriotic, and I gave it a great patriotic name, IamFreeAmerica.com, because I want people to know that even though they're doing this, that we are still free and we have to exercise our freedoms while we can. So I took a document that was 96 years old with these fallen ones bragging about how they took over the banking system and then mocking America to be the last domino to fall in their end game. And I made it into an MP3 and I put it up on that site, www.IamFreeAmerica.com.
Great job, Victoria. Awesome job. Gonna jump. And everybody needs to start their own webcast, their own YouTube channel, their own websites. Don't wait. Turn on the webcam. Talk about any news item, any issue. Get proactive. They're gonna send in COINTELPRO to try to get you infighting with them. Ignore them. Move forward. Warn people that have ears to hear and eyes to see. Don't stop. Call into talk radio. Folks, I call into talk radio either in Dallas, San Antonio, Austin, Houston, or National. Every day, whether it's in the morning or the night, I stop. I roll down the window every day at red lights and say, hey, tune into 90.1. Tune into 590, stations that carry my show. Tune into 1330 here locally. I mean, I stop. I talk at grocery stores. They start pushing, hey, take our customer loyalty card. I say, you know, actually, they have you signing that contract waiver so they can sell what books I'm getting here at Barnes & Noble to the government. No, I'm not going to sign it. It's like, okay, move along. No. You asked 3 times for me to take this Barnes & Noble's card. Now you're going to get a big speech. I walk in, done it many times at the store, and I say to my children who want a little candy after we go hiking or something, you know, I still like to spoil them. It's not good. And I'll even take the corn syrup. I just can't find something that doesn't have aspartame. Almost every sugar candy now, every fruit candy, every gum. I'll be in a big old gas station with 20 different types of gum. And I'll say, sorry, guys, it's all got aspartame. That's not good for you. And the guys behind the counter will start giggling, or a lot of times they're listeners. Somebody, you know, on a busy Sunday or whatever, will start laughing. And I'll go, oh, it's funny. Do you notice all these gums say aspartame? Do you know it's the feces of a weaponized E-Coli? Oh, it's funny. They're like, settle down, sir. I'm like, no, I'm not going to settle down. There's a chemical weapon in this food, and you think it's funny. It's not funny. My children, you know, years ago would say, well, you know, why are you doing this? Now they understand. They're like, that's right. Because we're proud. We're not scared to speak out in front of people. We're not sheep. And then I told that one story of being laughed at by 3 or 4 people inside that big giant gas station on 360. You know, it's got all these pumps, tons of people outside. And I walk out into the beautiful spring day, and every pump is full, and there are people walking in and cars parked where I was freaked out and depressed. Wow, that building was full of ring wraith minions. And I walk out, and literally everybody goes, Alex Jones! Hey, Death of the New World Order! And it was like, you know, people with their kayaks and college students and old people and young folks are all high five. Yeah, we're going to defeat him. But see, it's those 2 different worlds. It's those 2 different worlds. Because usually I don't walk out of a place and somebody go, Alex Jones. People say, hey, Alex, how you doing? But it was almost like a spiritual moment where inside I'm being laughed at, and so I stand up to them. Folks outside don't hear me. I walk through the big double doors, and boom, it's just like a spontaneous, yay, we're beating them. All right, side issue. Let's go ahead and go back to your calls. John in Texas, you're on the air. Welcome.
Hi, Alex.
Hey, buddy.
I wanted to talk about a People's Pharmacy column that was in the Houston Chronicle about a month ago, talking about salt. They said that salt does not affect your blood pressure one way or the other.
No, they've got hundreds of studies. The statins actually kill you, make you have heart attacks, destroy the brain. It's all on record. Everything they give you to keep you alive is designed to kill you. Sorry, go ahead.
They said that low sodium can lead to heart disease and other health problems. And I might add that no salt can kill you. But when you go to a grocery store, what do you see now? Everything's low sodium, no sodium. That Bolshevik New York Mayor Bloomberg been trying to force all the restaurants to cut back on their salt. It's just part of the eugenics.
Well, he's not trying to force them. He's saying, what, is it $3,000 fines? Guys, search $3,000 fines for salt in New York. No, it's total control. We're going to say what type of toilet. We're going to say what type of light bulb. We're going to say what you're going to eat. We're going to tell you can't bring a school lunch for your kids. We're going to run your life. We're going to watch you. We're going to stick our hands down your pants. We're going to force statins and other drugs in the water and lithium. We're going to do it because we care about you, because we're so nice. I'm sorry, go ahead.
they're trying to cut the salt back because they want to kill you off. It's part of the eugenics program. Everybody's going to fall for this, cut back on their salt, and they're going to start dying of heart attacks.
Now, salt is used in all electrochemical processes in the body. It's one of the most vital things next to water. The difference is if you're eating, it's the artificial salts like monosodium glutamate that are deadly excitotoxins. But notice Bloomberg isn't worried about that. You need salt. You need mineral, natural-based salt. And the more sun you get, you know, the more you, I mean, obviously you don't need a lot of salt if you lay around all day and don't ever exercise. Too much salt can be a problem, but absolutely. The ratios of how much salt they say you should have, I mean, that's what's so dangerous about them telling you and setting the parameters for everything.
Yeah, that's what, I mean, back in the ancient times, salt was that's what they paid their soldiers and their workers. Let
me tell you, when you watch the illegal aliens come in a gas station at 6 o'clock, they've been outside working all day. Those guys have all got soft drinks from Mexico that have real sugar, and they're buying little bags of flavored salt, and they're dumping it in their mouths. Obviously, they would die out in the heat if they didn't have that. It's electrolytes. I mean, again, they know, but the yuppies don't. You got these yuppies collapsing on these long bike rides because they won't get any salt, because they think salt's evil.
Well, that's what, but it's just part of the eugenics program, Alex. That's what the people need to realize, that you got to have salt to live, and if you cut salt out of your diet, you're going to get sick and you're going to die.
Sir, I was talking to, I don't know if I'm allowed to get into this. Well, Ted's told me I can talk about it. I'm not going to say much. You know, Ted's dad, Ted Anderson, had gotten Alzheimer's so bad that he didn't really know who he was, and Ted was real sad because he couldn't really take him fishing or anything anymore. And for a few months, he got him on vitamins and minerals, liquid ones. And they went to the doctor, and the doctor said, well, he's on Coumadin, which is a blood thinner, an ingredient of rat poison. He's never had a stroke or heart attack. They don't tell him to take aspirin. That's a lot better than that from my research. And Ted said, yeah, the last doctor had him for a long time on aspirin. But see, they don't get to charge you as much money if it's aspirin, so they want to give you Coumadin because it's not over the counter. They got to take blood test every few weeks so they get money out of it. And just now they told him, get off these minerals. You don't need them. They're bad. And they said they did a blood test and said, oh, you had almost 0 vitamin K, but now your vitamin K's up, which you're supposed to have. And his dad's skin was falling off. You know, old folks just like literally sores everywhere. The skin got healed in just a few months. He knew who he was again. It was like Valhalla. And they just said, no, because when you're on Coumadin, you can't have vitamin K, they say, or the blood gets thick again. And that's the end of it. And now his dad doesn't know who he is again. And the issue is the doctor said, no. And then they'll argue, well, we live longer than we used to. Oh, really? Type into the search engine, U.S. life expectancy drops. Now, see, the way they do this is they artificially degenerate you. Then they have systems to get the money out of you to keep you alive. They have treatments for the diseases they've helped engineer. So they treat the symptoms. And the average doctor's compartmentalized doesn't know this, even though their own literature admits, that the statins are killing you and destroying the brain and the heart, even though they admit you need the salt. People don't have vitamin C. In fact, he's not even supposed to get a lot of vitamin C. Now imagine, your skin degenerates, your brain, the collagen connections are built and basically maintained via the metabolic integration between the cholesterols and the vitamin C. But no, you don't get that. So, of course, he finally gets some vitamins and minerals. He can think again.